By the way, just do like a quick plug somewhere
Yep.
in the middle of the episode.
All right.
Hey, check out the Good Games Podcast Instagram, and I think we'll also be making a Twitter as well. Our
What?
Instagram tag, shit, I should probably know this as part of the
Yep.
plug.
Yep.
Our Instagram, shit,
Mm.
what is our,
Mm.
this is just good game. Our Instagram tag is
there we go.
at Good Games Podcast, spelled exactly as it sounds. Check us out.
At Good Games Podcast, all one word?
Yep. I mean,
Wow.
when there's no at in the word, it's just Good Games Podcast.
Oh, okay.
The at is just like, that's how people, like tag you.
What's our Twitter? Is it the same thing?
I haven't made the Twitter yet, but probably.
Oh, fuck. All right. Well, check back later for
Twitter. This is a failure. Now this plug is completely wrong. But just
okay.
the Instagram.
Yep.
Just the Instagram. Check out at Good Games Podcast now on Instagram.
Yeah, do it.
All right.
Welcome to the Good Games Podcast, you bitches. I'm James.
I'm Leo. That was extra.
I got really excited because today we're talking about Shenmue. Shenmue, right?
Shenmue. Yes, it's Shenmue.
I've heard people pronounce it Shenmue, so
yeah. I think that is the appropriate pronunciation, Shenmue.
Oh, okay. Is that like ever a thing in the game?
I have no idea where the name Shenmue actually comes from.
Yeah, I didn't. So Leo is a longtime Shenmue fan. I just got the remastered versions that came out recently and started playing them about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is my first time through Shenmue. So I'm defaulting to your Shenmue knowledge. So let me begin with an experiment here. What is Shenmue?
You're asking me?
Oh, I'm asking you. What is this?
Shenmue is a game.
Yes, it is.
Developed by Yu Suzuki.
Yes, it is.
It is difficult to categorize.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. What did I just play?
It's one part kind of like story-driven drama, one part open world simulator, like Japanese simulator, and one part Virtua Fighter, like kung fu movie kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it there. Yeah. That is basically exactly what this is. I think. I think this game is more interested in being. I mean, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. I think this game is more interested in being a like weird, hyper modeled. Everything is very detailed and very immersive. It's more interested in being that Japanese simulator than it is those other two things. Like those other two things are secondary to. This game is so obsessed with making everything modeled. Everything's got an animation. Look, our character puts on his shoes and he stops his alarm clock in the morning and we have animations for him getting out of bed and getting into bed. It's all just very obsessed with this like hyper modeled. Yeah. Yes. To
the point where this game still surprises me with the amount of like scripting some of the NPCs have. Like you'll find an NPC traveling on their motorcycle to work, and like you'll recognize them, and then later on you'll see them like walking to their shop and everything like that.
I was noticing that like this game has a lot of elements that are way ahead of their time.
Yes.
Especially like the like NPC behaviors. Now, I mean, you can get a little goofy with it because I just like stopped in the middle of the street and then I just had like a big old NPC pile up right in front of me. And they couldn't figure out how to get around me. Yeah, but they were actually trying. They have some sort of pathing algorithm because I could see them trying to figure out how to walk around me.
That
was impressive considering this game came out what, 1999, I think.
Yeah, 1999, 2000,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. And there's also some kind of glitchy parts where like there's a particular section of the game where you're looking for this guy Charlie, and I'm like 100% sure Charlie is in the arcade playing
Yeah.
a game because I played the game before.
Right.
And
Yep.
I'm like, that's Charlie. But if I talk to him, like they don't know, like they don't. The story doesn't progress unless you go specifically to like this other section. You know, so that's it can get a little wonky sometimes.
Yeah, and also the just the like music and the soundscape, very very good. Even I think like the character models and a lot of the like environmental work, just the way everything is super detailed and modeled way ahead of its time.
Yeah, ahead of its time for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that it's aged that well now, but it was ahead of its time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, on that note, I am absolutely done saying nice things about this game, and let's get on to the rest of this. I wanted to offload all of the good things I had to say about Shenmue, and let's dig into this. My experience playing this game was dog shit. I hated it. I hated it. I absolutely fucking hated it. And let me tell you why.
A hard hate on this game?
Let me tell you why.
Oh,
and part of it I'm going to lay on the game, and part of it I think is my fault, something I did to myself, because I can pinpoint the exact moment I started hating this game.
All right.
And that moment was when I started looking at a guide. Okay.
Oh.
So the very beginning of the game, for those, I'm not spoiling anything. This is the very beginning. The main character, his name is Rio, right? Rio.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
His father is murdered, right? And that's his father is murdered by some like Chinese gang members, right? Something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Namely Lan Di, the ultimate villain.
Oh, and this sends Rio off on his whatever journey. And the only clue he's got at the beginning is he's looking for a black car, right? So he goes into town, and he encounters a couple other things. He encounters like a kid on the way, whatever, and he's just looking for this black car. So he's asking all these NPCs, like, hey, have you seen this black car? And one of the NPCs says, hey, go ask this NPC. And then another NPC says, oh, I think somebody else said, the guy at the flower shop saw it. And then say, oh, the guy at the jacket shop saw it. So I was like going from NPC to NPC, asking everybody questions about this black car. And at some point I got turned around because I forgot, like my journal was telling me one thing, and then I thought like the last NPC told me to go somewhere else, and I couldn't remember what I was supposed to be doing. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just kind of lost and wandering around. Let me pull up a guide so I can figure out what I'm supposed to be doing.
So your first problem was, instead of just talking to your good friend Leo, you pulled up this guide. Okay.
Well, in fairness, I did ask you, is this the sort of game I should play with a guide? And you sort of dodged the question.
Right, because I don't necessarily think that the answer to that is yes, but
I think the answer to that is a hard no, and we'll get to that, because here's what happens when you play the game with a guide. I think one of the biggest selling points, we said a second ago, the biggest thing this game is peddling, Shenmue is peddling, is this big, Japanese immersion. Like, look how detailed and highly modeled this environment we created is. Like, we've come up with, all of these pathing algorithms and routines and stuff for every single NPC in the game has a, life or whatever, and there's all these like weather and day-night cycle, and it's all about immersion, right? Mm-hmm. Once you start following a guide, none of that shit matters. You're not paying attention to any of that shit. You're just you're just doing what the guide says. So, okay, now go to the flower shop, talk to this guy. Now go to the motorcycle shop, talk to this guy. Now, here's what made it absolutely fucking infuriating is there is stuff that is time-gated. So, Shenmue has a day-night cycle, and it has like an in-game clock that goes, I would say, pretty fucking slow. So if the guide says, hey, this shop opens at 9 p.m. and it is currently 10 a.m. in the in-game clock, you got a lot of fucking time to kill before you can actually progress in the game.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe with Shenmue, and they fixed it in Shenmue 2, and hopefully in Shenmue 3 will
I've read that, which is fine for Shenmue 2. But I wanna limit the scope of this conversation to Shenmue One.
No. But
So
that is the biggest problem with Shenmue One. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I
Yeah.
don't. Well, anyway, I'll get back to that. So, I'm looking at my guide, and it says, "Hey, you got all this time to kill. You got, whatever, fucking 12 in-game hours to kill, or whatever it is."
Right.
I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna walk around, talk to NPCs, whatever, and then like I didn't give a shit about anything else in this game. I didn't care how detailed it was. I didn't care about exploring. I didn't care about it. I was just like, I gotta progress. I gotta get farther. I gotta get going in this game, and I'm not doing that, and I can't because I have to wait. So then I just like opened up my phone and started playing other games. I got out my Switch and started playing. And then I just started playing other games. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm just playing other games while I'm waiting for fucking Shenmue. That really pissed me off. But I can recognize that that's something I have put on myself. Because if I don't know that the in-game like progression has me gated behind a certain point in time, like in the in-game time clock in Shenmue, I don't think that would have pissed me off. Because I think what this game is peddling is that immersion, and that immersion really breaks if you're just following that guide.
Agreed. And I have, just to add to that, I do think that even if you do notice, if the game doesn't have a lot of playability. It has a lot of people who like the game have played it many times, but not because the game is very replayable. Because once you know where certain things are, you run into the same problem because you quickly get from point A to point B instead of taking a longer time, which I think the game kind of expects it to take a little bit longer.
Oh yeah.
So I think that it's not just about knowing following a guide so much, but also like just kind of getting ahead of yourself in that game. That being said, if you were to move at the normal pacing that the game expects you to, there is a lot of interactions that happen randomly. I don't know if you ran into these a lot.
Yeah, I got a couple of those.
Kind of random encounters, and you're supposed to go, explore the town and maybe play some arcade games and practice your kung fu in the parking lot. And if you do all that, and you're less knowledgeable about what to do next, generally, you don't even notice. Even if you know you're supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, by the time you know that, it's like 7 p.m. So you really only have to wait like a minute and a half in game or something.
Yeah, and that's why I say like part of this I felt like was something I put on myself when I started following the guide, but and I don't think I would have had that problem if I was not following the guide. I mean, I don't think I would have gotten as far as I did in the game without the guide. But I think I would have had a better time with it because there's so many of, like you said, those like random, just like slice of life, like little vignettes or whatever. And those are like, I like that. I like that a lot. Like that was really cool. Here, going back to an earlier point I made, here's why I think part of it was something I did to myself, and part of it's the game. Because the game begins with like, your father is dead, and you're going after these like Chinese criminals to avenge your father. Like, go get him. Like, you better track these guys down. They just drove off in a black car. You got clues to follow. But the game is not really like, there is no resolution to the like follow the black car thing for like fucking hours and hours and hours of gameplay. Like, you don't get. Like, because there's so many of those, like, hey, you bumped into somebody you know on the street, like, you want to buy him a drink? Like, oh, you bumped into a drunk guy, like, whatever. There's so many of those, like, little scenarios that are, I mean, they're cool, but they seem to be completely at odds with, like, the really high-stakes narrative that is set up at the beginning, like, this big vengeance, like, I've got to avenge my father thing. Like, why am I dicking around with buying this guy a drink at the soda machine? Like, I got to go avenge my father. It's the same sort of thing that is present in a lot of like modern role-playing games, like Bethesda games, where it's like, why am I dicking around in the Fallout wasteland if, like, the main quest says this bomb is about to go off and I'm like in a cave like digging for rat parts or something. Like, it kind of, the like urgency of the main storyline seemed to be completely at odds with like the, just take your time and be immersed in this crazy detailed world sort of thing. Like those two things just seem to be butting heads.
I mean, like, if you're following the trail, you're gonna get to Land D eventually. You know?
Oh, eventually, sure, but like it's just fucking forever. The pace of this game is glacially slow, like real damn slow, which
true.
is fine. Not every game has to be like go to here to here to here to here, but I'm just saying like the narrative that is set up at the beginning is pretty fucking urgent. Like if my father dies, I'm gonna be like, oh, let's go get some vengeance, man.
Well, I think one thing that helps on that regard is when things feel like roadblocks, not so much like a conscious decision. Like I'm not choosing to go play with these capsule toys instead of finding my dad's killer,
right.
But I can't get to this next stage until I've raised enough money, so I have to sit here and work this shitty warehouse job until I get enough money
right.
to follow. So it does at some point feel more like he's had a roadblock rather than like he's consciously dicking around.
The beginning of the game doesn't seem like that. The beginning of the game is like, go talk to this guy, now go talk to this guy, now go talk to this guy, now go talk to this guy. Yeah. Now, are you lost yet? Are you lost? Because we're expecting you to be lost. Because that's what the beginning of the game felt like. Like it wanted me to be lost in the like huge open world that it had.
Which is I mean I think that's definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, okay. This game is nearly 20 years old. There are some things that, I mean, some of the graphics stuff, I think it looked great, stunning at the time. Now, there's some stuff that is less excusable. The voice acting, pretty bad. I understand. Like, it's real bad. It's not pretty bad. It's real bad. Now, your suggestion was to switch to the Japanese audio.
Immediately.
Which I found to be also fucking terrible.
Oh, really?
Yes, because there's like all of these. Okay, there's a couple of. I can just tell that it's bad voice acting, even though it's not my native tongue. And also, I can tell that there's just English guys that like speak a little bit of Japanese that they got to record some lines, because I can tell the like English accent is like real obvious. And then also they just read part of the fucking lines in English. It's like, oh, my son is missing. And I'm like, what? Like, what? I thought I had this in Japanese. Like, that was English. Like, did you notice that? Like, there's definitely just English in the.
Oh, I don't listen to the Japanese audio. I mean,
you're just using that as an option to like turn off the voice acting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in it for the super cheesy, English. Dub-over, so
no, I did love, because
I
did
the
play
experience for me.
Yeah, the very beginning is very good with like, father, no, father. Like
Fukusan.
Fukusan. That was very,
which totally could be read as "fuck you, son." Like,
yeah. Also, why does Rio control like fucking dog shit? Like, what the hell?
That's a Dreamcast thing. I mean,
No, the controls are so bad. Like that was inexcusable, because we're in the late 90s. We know how basic 3D engines work. Rio controls like a goddamn tank.
Listen, this game was before the concept of X-axis, Y-axis for character movement.
What do you mean? Because the Dreamcast had a joystick.
Yes, but I'm saying like the dual analog X-Y axis split. Like sure.
It
was before that, so like
yeah.
They didn't think of how to do that character controlling better in 3D.
No, well, they didn't think about it to make it even usable. There's a fucking dedicated button for run. Which, by the way, no, because you might think like, oh, like in some games, like the Final Fantasy games, for instance, like you control your character on a 2D plane, and if you want him to run a little faster, you hold the run button. No, that's not how it is in Shenmue. If you press the button, he just fucking starts running. No matter what direction you have on the pad, he just takes off running. Yeah, and there's you can't, he controls like a goddamn tank. You can't move left and right. You can only move forward and backwards.
Yes. Okay, that's true. But on the flip side, the controls for the combat are quite good.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically just the Virtua Fighter engine, right?
Exactly. That's why, because they already had that engine built for Virtua Fighter.
Right, so. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with the fighting. I mean, admittedly, in all of the combat encounters, I basically just mashed my way through. But I mean, it seemed like it was kind of cool, especially.
Oh man, it's got such depth, man.
Does it? All right, tell me about it.
Well, you can. Okay, so you find scrolls throughout the game. I don't know if you found any of those.
I didn't actually.
Oh yeah, so there's
because I was just following this guide. Go to point A, go to point B, go to point C. I was just following the guide.
I feel like you should stop following the guide and restart the game. And
well, I realized that. I realized that when I was just getting so fucking mad because the guide's like, now you gotta wait till 5 p.m. Now you gotta wait till 10 p.m. Now you gotta wait. I'm like, oh, this sucks. All I'm doing is waiting.
Okay, well, with the combat, there's different ways that you can come across these scrolls. There's one that is actually hidden in the dojo in your house. There's one that's an antique shop, and if you earn enough yen, selling off your little capsules or whatever, your little capsule toys or winning lottery. I don't know how the hell you earn game money in this game.
Well, you have like a daily allowance.
Yeah, you have daily allowance, and you wind up with a job later.
Yep.
So there's options, and then you can buy these scrolls, and these are like actual move scrolls. So they unlock. Well, they soft unlock a move, and so it'll be forward punch or forward punch and kick at the same time, or left right punch, or some sort of combo move. And there's a special animation for it, sometimes with a cool sound effect. You get one in the beginning of the game if you talk to Fukusan, right? And different people will teach you different moves too. So you'll run into an old man in the park, and he'll be like, "Oh, have I shown you this move?" And you have to do the move, and he's like, "Yes, you're getting it right." But that's a soft lock. Right, you get the combo, but then you have to go practice in the parking lot or in the Yokosuka Park or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you repeatedly kind of do the move, and you can keep track of it, if you press L trigger or something, you can see how much of the move you've unlocked by repetition. And so you get better at the move. And then at some point you'll do the move one, and the whole game will kind of stop until you've mastered that move now. And then it has increased power, damage and stuff when you go to get into an actual fight.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, it's really neat. Yeah, and the shitty thing for us US players before was that you would finish Shenmue 1 and it leaves off in a severe cliffhanger, and then Shenmue 2 came out for a different console in the US and the Xbox instead of Dreamcast. So we weren't able to bring the same save file with all the hours of practice you did on all those moves to Shenmue 2. Now you can.
Now you can. They're all on one great Steam release. I doubt I ever will. I don't think I have the patience for this game. You've really got to have just the patience of a saint and a whole lot of time.
Well, I always knew that would probably be the case when you finally played this game.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean I'm coming off of Yakuza 0, which a lot of people draw comparisons between Shenmue and Yakuza.
I can see where the comparisons come from, but I never felt that they were that similar.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. At first glance, I was like, okay, sure. They're both really, they're both very deeply ingrained in Japanese culture. They're both, they have both of the main characters are all of the main characters are martial artists. It's kind of, they're both kind of open worlds. And that's basically where the similarities, I think, end, because Shenmue is almost more of an adventure game, kind of, because you have the way it progresses feels like an adventure game, because a lot of it is talk to the next person. You have to figure out where you need to go next. It feels like an old school point and click adventure game. Whereas I felt like Yakuza is more just focused on doling out the story.
I think that you might find yourself later on at a maybe at a different time in your life where there's not so much going on.
When I have a whole lot of free time
with enough patience to maybe keep going, because I think that you're I don't know, we haven't talked about how far you actually did end up getting, but I do think that there's still a lot more to give from this game to you.
I am sneaking into Warehouse 8 right now, so I am...
Oh man, you're just getting to the good part of the story.
Oh god. It's so slow, though. I can't handle the pace of this game.
It speeds up. Slow. It speeds up a lot in the second, the last third of the game speeds up quite a bit. It ramps up into a big climactic sort of crazy fest. I think you should at least finish this game off and see how you feel without the guide. Without the guide.
No, yeah, I realize playing the guide is the wrong way, because I'm not. I mean, with the guide, I'm not enjoying it. My fear is if I throw the guide away, that I'm not going to be progressing at all. But maybe that's just.
But maybe change it from wanting to progress to just wanting to experience.
Yeah, I think I need to just change my perspective and change my attitude. Like, just
that might
experience
take time,
the game.
You know?
Yeah. Don't worry about progressing. Just worry about
just experience.
Really,
explore.
Just experience.
There's all sorts of interesting inside jokes amongst Shenmue fans, like when you just are exploring the warehouse district and talking to Tom, who, what the fuck is the point of Tom? I never understood this. Tom is like this really cool hot dog salesman. He's like the only black guy in the game.
Yes, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And even among Shenmue fans, we all love the game, but no one understands what the hell Tom is doing there. Because anything you ask Tom, arguably probably the guy who gets the most business, he's like right in the center of town and gives everyone hot dogs, presumably. And he doesn't know shit. He hasn't seen anybody. He doesn't know who anybody is. All he's there to tell you that you shouldn't be getting tattoos or be hanging out with sailors. And then he follows you to the warehouse area. Like, what? He's literally in two places at once in this game. I think that he's like a demigod in disguise or something. I don't know what the. And finally, at the end of the game, like literally the very end of the game, Tom teaches you a move, and it's like a cool kind of what is that the breakdance kind of fighting kind of stuff So
that's
capoeira or whatever.
Oh yeah, capoeira. I think.
Capoeira, right? Some sort of cool capoeira kick or something, right? And then the game ends. and then the U.S. players were like, "What the fuck, Tom? That's useless," because we didn't get to bring that over to Shenmue 2.
That's a very strange cliffhanger. Tom is also one of the characters who has the English mixed with the Japanese in the Japanese dub, because he's like, hot dog. Oh no.
Well, that always it was always curious to me, how is this obviously Jamaican black guy hanging out in Dobuita, Japan, and just talking, mingling with the regulars here, what? Oh man, Tom. I think you should actually switch your dub over to English just to talk to Tom.
I've been doing it in Japanese, and Japanese is pretty hilarious and also bad, so I might as well just do it in a language that I can understand.
Sure, yeah, maybe that'll help with the enjoyment too. Maybe that'll immerse you even more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's one of the other things, because for everything that is very detailed and immersive, man, the voice acting just really takes you out of it.
It's really not much better in English. I mean, the problem is that in English it'll be like you'll talk to someone and say, "Hey," and they'll be like, "Hey, Rio," and you'll be like, "Where can I find some sailors?" And they'll be like, "Oh, I'm busy right now." And then you have an option to talk to them again, and he's like, "Well, okay, you know where I can find some sailors?" "No, Rio, like I said, I'm busy right now." "Okay, yeah, hey." Okay, it's just weird. It's totally.
Hey,
totally
sailors, though. Sailors, please, sailors.
You know where I could find some sailors?
Yeah,
that's the running gag of Shenmue.
Oh God, yeah. No, the finding the sailors part was definitely very good. This makes me really curious about what Shenmue 3 is going to be.
Yeah,
because I don't think you can make a game like Shenmue 1 and release it today. No. I mean, you can make a super immersive thing, but I don't know if people are going to go for all of the time gated stuff. Well, I know that they fixed that in Shenmue 2.
Yeah,
but all of the QTE and because what is the gameplay of Shenmue 1 other than just going from place to place? I don't know if people have the attention span to.
Well, I think you definitely have to pace it a little differently, and I think that knowledge is known based on Shenmue 2. I think the pacing in Shenmue 2 is a little different. There's still some aspects of that kind of slow exploringness, but it does the pace does speed up a bit in Shenmue 2. And I think with Shenmue 3, hopefully they're smart enough to know that we're in 2018 and the pace should be a little faster. And I know a lot of people don't like QTE. I'm actually kind of a fan if done right. I don't think Shenmue 1 did it right. But
no, it was dumb because it was just if you failed the QTE, it would just restart the cutscene.
Right.
Which is just keep doing it again until you get it right. This is dumb.
There's very few opportunities to like miss in Shenmue where
Right.
it'll keep going. And I
Right.
think that's more important in a QTE where like if you miss,
Yeah.
like you still have a chance to like stay in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I think I feel like they would have learned all that based on just video game history of the last 10 years, and
Mm.
hopefully improve on the already existing formula and make it maybe a little bit faster paced. And yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
because I don't.
and to your point, to your question about what is even the gameplay, it really does ramp up into a lot of fighting at the end.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
the last third of the game is just like you're just fighting your way through to the ending. So it starts off very slow. It really plays like a kung fu movie. Like it
Yeah.
starts off like slow, and you're kind of learning about this character, and then he kind of shows his little moments of badassery, and then at the end it kind of like takes on a whole 100-man army, like this kind of thing.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if Shenmue 3 is more like the newer Yakuza games, or if they try to stay closer to the older. I'm very curious to see what, after 20 years, the Shenmue formula looks like.
Yeah,
because I don't think, because in my defense, I think the number of people who play who have never played Shenmue before, get this re-release, play it to completion, and enjoy it, I think that number is 0.
That number is really high.
Get the fuck out of here! What? No way! People who have never played Shenmue before are not playing this collection in 2018 and being like, "Holy shit, this is blowing my mind!" Dude, way!
I shit you
not.
No
way!
I've been watching. Have you looked at reviews of this game?
Well, yeah, it's just reviews of Shenmue.
Okay, that's fine. No, there's reviews specifically for the HD remakes, and there's people who have posted about it on like certain forums, and they'll be like, "I've never played Shenmue before. This is my first time playing, and I gotta say, this game is really good." Like like they talk good about it, which surprised me. Like I was not expecting to see this many people say good things about the game. But
that's shocking.
They're probably not playing with the guide though.
That's true. Here's the thing. If you took me back in time 20 years and I didn't have a guide and it was the late 90s, whatever, where I had a ton of free time and nothing else to do, I probably really would have enjoyed this game. I probably would have been, part of the Shenmue fan club.
Right.
In 2018, where I don't.
An old man.
I'm an old man. I don't have time for this shit. I don't have time to wait fucking 45 minutes for the arcade to open. Like, I just move it along, Shenmue. I don't.
So that being said, then, if Shenmue had a system that allowed you to time skip to the start of the next piece of the kind of adventure, how would you feel about it then?
You're describing Shenmue 2. I know you are.
Right. Yeah. Well, how would you feel about it then?
I'd feel better about it. Here's the thing that I don't. So, okay. Shenmue, I think, is primarily concerned with being that immersive Japanese. It is. It's like a martial arts movie, and it's so concerned with being immersed in that Japanese movie, martial arts movie. Secondary to that is the gameplay, be it the fighting stuff, and secondary to that is actually telling the story, telling Ryo's story. Right. Those two things are secondary to Shenmue.
Well, I mean, that much is obvious just based on the cliffhanger of the game. Like, I mean,
yeah. So I don't know that you can sell me on a 17, 15, 16-year-old game that just peddles itself on being immersive, because I think there are modern games that can do that better now.
Yeah, well, sure. But the reason I ask how much better would that be for you then?
Oh, it would be better.
Well, because then I'm thinking about Shenmue 3 and whether or not you would enjoy playing that.
Oh, here's the thing.
I'm assuming that they'll have that.
Having played Shenmue 1 and really fucking hated it, I'm very curious to see what Shenmue 3 is going to be. Curious to the point that I will probably buy it and probably play it. So,
well, that's really all I want, James, is for you to play that game with me.
So let's look forward to an episode of this podcast all about Shenmue 3.
All right.
And we'll see if both of us are, gonna be in the Shenmue 3 fan club, or maybe one of us will
We'll
still
see.
fucking hate it.
I'm maybe it'll flip flop because I'm crossing my fingers, but I've been following the Kickstarter updates and I'm a little nervous. But we'll see.
Oh, what does that mean?
Just it's not so much like there's anything that presents itself as obviously a red flag. It's just
Right.
like it's a lot to like take on,
Yeah,
and
it's a big scope.
Yeah, and so I'm just generally nervous about whether or not it's going to be a good.
I'm also kind of, just following the trend of like, there's a big trend right now of nostalgia, like unearthing these old franchises that we grew, games, movies, TV shows that we grew up with as kids, and I feel like some of these creators of these old things don't really understand the appeal of what made their thing so great. Like, case in point is I think something that is very close to me is Star Wars and the 90s Star Wars prequels with George Lucas. I don't think he had a good grasp on why people loved
Star Wars so great. Yeah,
people loved the classic trilogy. Anyway, I think there's all over the spectrum of successes and failures with unearthing these things. But yeah, anyway, I'm very interested to see what Shenmue 3 will be. So,
all right, me too. We'll find out next year, hopefully.
We will find out next year. So our tie-in topic today, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Our tie-in topic today, to go along with our discussion of Shenmue, is our top 5 SEGA games.
Now, we agreed that this would be both Sega like developed or like on a Sega platform exclusive, or also like Sega published things, right? All right.
Yeah, not just on a Sega platform, right? Like either Sega developed this game or published it.
Or published it on any platform, yeah.
When you start up the game, you might see the Sega thing. That
was like my key thing, yeah.
That's the criteria, yep.
Yeah, sure.
Am I going first? I think I go first, right?
I think you go first, yeah.
My number 5 is an arcade classic. It is Daytona USA. This... I am not even a fan of racing games. I don't like racing games other than maybe like Mario Kart. I love me some Mario Kart. I don't like racing games. The thing that makes Daytona USA so great is pretty much just playing it in the arcade because you get in that, you get in the like chair, you got the whole wheel, you got the pedals, you got the shifting, there's something about that experience that is really great. And also the best way to play this is go to an arcade. Hopefully you have an older arcade who has not updated their machines in a long time, and they still have a whole bunch of Daytona USA machines that are networked together, because you get that 4-player action going, or that 8-player Daytona action going. That's some good shit right there.
Yeah, where you can like talk bad to people, like you just kind of yell them across your shoulder.
So my favorite thing to do as a kid was not race. I would take my car. I just start turning around at the beginning and just start going the wrong way down the track and just smash into somebody full speed at the head of the pack. And just like 4 chairs down, you hear, "Oh, what the hell!" Yes, I love that.
That's funny.
Also, this is one of the first games I can think of that had like semi-realistic damage modeling to your car, by which I mean like if you get hit in like the left rear tire, then like the left rear part of your car starts crumpling. I mean, it wasn't super modeled by today's standards, but it had some awareness of like where you started to take damage, and that was like really cool as a kid. I was like, oh my god, like wow, the damage is persistent and realistic and everything. I that blew me away. And also, the theme song is legendary.
Yeah, it is.
If you, they're like Daytona. Like if you go Google on YouTube right now, search for Daytona USA, Let's Go Away. It is a delight. It is very good. You will enjoy it. My number 5 is Daytona USA.
Yeah, that's a great pick. My number 5 is coincidentally also sort of a racing game, except it's more of a race against time, as you pick up people from cab fare to cab fare throughout the
Yes.
crazy streets of San
Yes.
Francisco. Number 5 is
Yes.
Crazy Taxi.
Yes.
What
Very
a
good.
what an epic game. Crazy Taxi was like, it gave all the people with road rage an outlet before GTA was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the premise of the game revolved around picking up people for a taxi ride and having to get them from point A to point B in like 10 seconds, driving across the city, and they would actually like tell you you're an idiot and a stupid driver if you weren't like driving crazily through traffic,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and getting them there in like just crazy short amount of time.
As
um,
fast as possible.
yeah. And yeah, just very arcadey and very silly and goofy. But just I spent a good amount of just hours playing that game, which it's kind of a very simple formula. So it's surprising how well it captivated people into just playing it repeatedly. Because I know there was an arcade version and you could play like in the arcades, but I specifically remember playing that like on Dreamcast,
Mm-hmm.
and playing it a lot. So yeah, check out Crazy Taxi. It's very good.
That is some good shit. My number 4 is another genre that I don't usually go for. That's rail shooters. I am not a
Mm.
big rail shooter guy, but I loved my experience with the House of the Dead Overkill.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Um,
one.
so if you played some of the House of the Dead games, those are another arcade classic. You go in, you got your light gun, House of the Dead, classic zombies, whatever. House of the Dead Overkill originally came out on the Nintendo Wii, and it had, you would point your Wii remotes at the screen. You could play with a partner. But the selling point to this game was the story, believe it or not. It was super, super, super self-aware and ultra campy. This just bathed in like B movie horror camp, just bathed in it. Um, it was so self-aware and so ridiculous.
Yeah.
They had a character who would like drop the F bomb, like every other word was, F this, F you, F these zombies. Like it was so ridiculous. And I also have to give a shout out to, it had a pseudo sequel, kind of, called Typing of the Dead Overkill, which is for PC. And it is what you think it is. It's a typing game that tests your typing skills. So when you type a word correctly, instead of shooting a gun, if you type a word correctly, a zombie explodes on the screen. But hilariously, all of the zombies have just the dumbest words attached to them. Just
Nice.
filthy, just terrible things. So you get to type very
No.
dirty, naughty words and test how fast you can type them while watching this insane, campy horror B movie unfold. That is the
I've not
house.
played the typing of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very dumb. It's very, very dumb, but it's good if you're into that B movie aesthetic. House of the Dead Overkill.
All right. Yeah, that's a great game. Okay, my number 4 is something I don't think a lot of people realize was originally published by Sega. And
Oh,
I think I've talked about it before in a previous episode. It
okay.
is the strategy game called Total War.
Oh,
Is the original Total War game, which I played a lot of, was actually published by Sega. And I think actually, technically, every new Total War that comes out, because they still make like Total War Warhammer and Total
yep.
War whatever. I think to this day, it's present day, Sega is still one of the major publishers.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm fact checking you right now. It is published by Sega since 2005.
Yeah, yeah. So I've talked about it before. It's just a really great strategy series, and I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours across all the various what genres or like different styles of Total War that have come out. I always thought it was weird seeing Sega on there. I don't know how it works when it comes to publishing, but I feel like you generally stick to a certain type of game, to like give
Mm-hmm.
yourself kind of like credit in that like
Mm-hmm.
of knowing like what makes those games good. So I think they're like, that's probably like the only strategy game Sega publishes. So it's a little weird, but yeah, technically it's on there. So I'm throwing it up as one of my favorite Sega games.
Nice. Well, it's not the only strategy game that Sega publishes, because my number 3 is a Sega developed and published. It is the excellent Valkyria Chronicles. Valkyria Chronicles is a weird one. It is a tactical strategy game, but every time you select a unit to have an action, the map zooms into that unit, and the camera goes like over the unit's shoulder, and you get to move the unit around in 3D space in third person. So you actually get to like aim and shoot also. So it's not strictly just a turn-based strategy game. I mean, it is turn-based and it is strategy, but there's also an element of positioning, moving, and shooting as well. It's also really unique aesthetically. All of the like cutscenes and character designs are this like watercolor, and the story is basically World War II, but if World War II was like a slightly alternate history World War II, and it was extremely anime. Very, very anime.
It is very anime.
Because there's some magic, and there's some super tanks that don't actually exist, and all of the characters are kind of anime stereotypes.
Some metrosexual haircuts.
Yeah. It's very, very alternate history anime, Japanese World War II.
Right. That sounds awesome.
Really good. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't played it. It's really good. It's a pretty good strategy game. Valkyria, as of this recording, Valkyria Chronicles 4 just came out last week. And I have been playing it. It is good so far. It is basically exactly the same as Valkyria Chronicles 1, which is good or bad, depending on your perspective, because if you like Valkyria Chronicles 1, Valkyria Chronicles 4 is pretty much exactly more of the same. Same engine, same character models, same strategy, same game engine. It's the same. But bad because I was kind of expecting the formula to have evolved a little bit over 3 sequels, and that hasn't really been the case so far, but whatever. The original game was pretty good, and Valkyria Chronicles 4 is more of the same. You can get Valkyria Chronicles 4 on PC, Switch, and I think PS4? Yes, and Xbox One.
Oh man, all over the place.
Yep, that's Valkyria Chronicles. It's good.
All right. I think I have played maybe a little bit of one of the games. It seems familiar. I was looking at gameplay.
Check out the new one. It's good.
Yeah, it might. That might be the perfect time to really jump in. Okay, so we're at number 3 now, is it?
Yeah.
Number 3. I mean, this is kind of like you got to have it in your top 5. I just threw in the Sonic the Hedgehog series.
There you go.
I mean, what is there to say? There's jumping, there's spinning, there's Tails, there's Knuckles.
Right.
There's speed, there's awesome music. Sonic, whatever. Number 3.
Oh, which one? Which game? Just the original Sonic the
Hedgehog? If I had to pick a Sonic, it would be Sonic 2.
Okay, gotcha.
I already talked about it last week, so
I'm gonna see previous episode.
Just go ahead and just cut and paste everything I said about Sonic in the last episode. Just put it here.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna do that. It's too much work. I'm lazy. My number 2 is also Sega's blue hedgehog mascot. But my game is the 2017 underappreciated hit Sonic Mania. That is my favorite Sonic game.
Really?
So, yeah. So, Sega seems to not really know what to do with Sonic recently. They're not sure if Sonic is like a 3D action game or like an old school 2D platformer. They're not sure if he's like too fast, cool, like this very cool Sonic the Hedgehog, yeah, or is he like the children's happy mascot with all of the animal buddies, or is he like this, old school retro gamers guy? Like, Sega has no idea what they're doing. I'm convinced, because what Sega seems their strategy with Sonic over the last 10 years seems to have just been throw darts at the wall and see what sticks.
Sure.
And some of these darts come closer to hitting like Sonic Generations than others, like the depressing Sonic Boom. There's some good, there's some bad, but last year marked a deviation in Sega's Sonic strategy. They did put out a mainline Sonic game last year that was also, what was it? Sonic
something bad.
Sonic Forces. So they did last year. They did also put out Sonic Forces, which was kind of a pandering to like the internet Sonic community, which is the most dangerous community to pander to, because it was kind of like, what if you could, your Sonic OC, what if you could make your own Sonic original characters? We put a character creator in. I didn't play the game, but it looked very mediocre. Anyway, Sonic Mania was a big deviation from their Sonic strategy in that they just gave the reins of Sonic the Hedgehog to some Sonic fans. Sonic Mania was made by one or two very small team of Sonic fan modders who had been making like fan games in the vein of like the old 8-bit or 16-bit Sonic the Hedgehog, like gotcha. Sonic 1, Sonic 2, whatever. And they let them make a game, an official licensed Sonic game. They just hired these fan modders and they made a very, very, very excellent Sonic Mania. So good that I think that it is better than the games that it is emulating. It is better than Sonic 1, 2. It's better than Sonic 3. This is, 2017 was a pretty crazy year for games. There's a lot coming out, and I think this kind of flew under the radar. It is worth playing if you like Sonic the Hedgehog. It is Sonic Mania.
Okay, I'm going to definitely check that out because I see Sonic Mania for Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's out on Switch. It's good. It's a good Switch game. Okay. It's got nice little short sessions you can play on the Switch on the go.
Definitely picking that up. All right, well, my number 2 is near and dear to my heart. Second to the game that I'm sure you'll know is at the top of the list. This game was probably my favorite Sega game. It is called Streets of Rage.
Wow, I didn't know you like Streets of Rage so much. Nice.
I love Streets of Rage, man. Okay, to be fair, I think it was literally the first video game I ever played. So
wow, okay.
There's a little bit of bias there. But I was a big fan of I guess they're called brawlers, just that style of game.
Yeah, beat 'em ups. Yeah,
beat 'em ups. Right, that's kind of the better term. Yeah, because there's like Double Dragon and Streets of Rage and a couple of Marvel games. Whatever. But Streets of Rage, in my opinion, was just good. Really, there was a dude with roller skates, and you're like, what? And then there's like picking stuff up, which they do in every beat 'em up. Okay, so basically it's the same as every other beat 'em up. I don't know, but I mean, it was good.
Let me throw you a bone here. You know why Streets of Rage, specifically 1 and 2, are so fucking good?
Okay, put it into words for me.
The soundtrack. That's it.
Oh yes. Oh, the soundtrack is good.
I don't even like Streets of Rage, but I have the soundtrack downloaded. It is so fucking good. It's like old school like club, like electronic club, like dance music, kinda, and it's just like jamming. It is so good. The legendary Yuzo Koshiro at some of his best work with the Streets of Rage soundtracks.
So you've basically heard that just from like playing the playlist, and they just have like that's how you're familiar with the soundtrack.
Oh, I mean, I played a little bit of Streets of Rage, but it doesn't do anything for me. But the soundtrack gets me going, man.
Yeah. Dude, this is great. What a great game, man. Oh, God. The style, it's really all about the style. When it comes to games like this, there's not a whole lot you can do to the formula. It's about presentation. So the soundtrack is great. The colors are like vibrant and kind of like, just like an odd like color palette that they chose. It's kind of arcadey and like 80s-ish. And then like the character models all look like super, I don't know, just memorable and cheesy, but just awesome, man. Just a great feeling game. Yeah, everything about it.
Streets of Rage, nice. My number 1. Are you ready for this? My number 1 is it's a very Japanese game. It's an open world Japanese game. It's got a main character who is very focused in his martial arts. And it's not Shenmue, it's Yakuza Zero. It's not Shenmue.
It's other Shenmue.
It's Yakuza Zero, and it's so good. Yeah. It is so good. So I said on one of our previous episodes, Yakuza, I think in North America and especially in the West, flies under the radar. It does not get a big marketing push from Sega in the West for some reason. I don't know why. They think Western audiences don't give a shit about Japanese games or Japanese culture or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. It's false, because this game, I as a Western man, loved this very Eastern game.
A lot of people do.
It is all about the Japanese mafia. And in contrast to Shenmue, it's not really focused on immersing you. I mean, it is immersive. I wouldn't say it's not immersive, but it is way more focused on character development. It's very interested in telling you this story about the Japanese mafia, these Japanese gangsters. And two of the characters you get in Yakuza 0, which I would recommend Yakuza 0 as a starting point. It is a prequel to all of the other games in the Yakuza series. And I've heard from multiple people that it is also the best game in the series. So it's a perfect place to start. And it introduces you to Kiryu Kazuma and Goro Majima, who are these two Japanese Yakuza. And just the character development in that game is so good. I absolutely fell in love with both of these characters, who are very different. But I just playing that game, I just wanted to find out what happens to these guys in the next scene. I loved it. It also it has a fantastic sense of humor. So we were talking about Shenmue, like, hey, where are all the soldiers? Or where are all the sailors?
Yeah.
Where are all the sailors at? Hey, what about the sailors? I could see that exact same scene playing out in Yakuza. The only difference is, like, Yakuza is aware of how ridiculous the premise is.
It knows itself, yeah.
Yes, so Yakuza would, like, force these, like, hardcore gangsters to be like, all right, like, the next mission, you gotta figure out where these sailors are. And, like, these super hard gangsters are like, excuse me, so I'm looking for sailors, I guess. Like, it plays up these ridiculous premises as just hilarious jokes, and a lot of it is it's very, very good. Yakuza 0, it's good.
Did you see the Yakuza 0 character in Shenmue?
What? There's a crossover?
When you went to what is the name, Incorporated, where you're looking for Charlie, and someone says to, like, check out, like, that one place Incorporated, and you have to go upstairs, and it's a couple of, like, obvious, like, mob dudes in there.
What? But I thought Shenmue was made way before Yakuza.
Well, Yakuza may have taken this character model straight off of there.
Oh, well, I know the Yakuza guys were, like, pretty famously influenced by Shenmue. So let's see.
Look at that link right there.
You sent me a thing? Oh, it's Kuze! Oh my God, Kuze is in Shenmue?
I mean, it certainly looks a lot like him, and he's like a mob boss, and he's like, don't talk to me, kid. And he's like, yeah.
That's absolutely Kuze. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, he's in that room. It's like, it's got, like, the guy who's, like, the Godfather, and, like, these guys are obviously, like, thugs, and so you're asking them where Charlie is. I forget what the name of the building is. Like, what something Incorporated is the name of the building in Shenmue.
I totally missed that. I'm surprised I missed that, because that is unmistakable.
Too busy with your nose deep in the guide to notice.
I know. Yeah. I was just playing. You know, I'm playing Shenmue the wrong way. I can see part of that's my fault.
Well, at least we can all agree that the soundtrack, which is what I'm going to spend my time talking about, my number one favorite Sega game, Shenmue. Let's just talk about the soundtrack a little bit, because we didn't hit that up enough.
Oh, yeah. The soundtrack. Fucking awesome.
Now that you've played it in the game with the soundtrack, how did it come? Did it come through a lot while you played?
Yeah, well, in the beginning areas, the game kind of focuses on soundscape a lot, so there's not a whole lot of music playing.
Remember, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
It's kind of secondary. You know what one of my favorite tracks is, though? If you go in the grocery store, there's, like, this super peppy, like, like, I love the grocery store, like, music.
That's one of my favorites.
It's very much not like the traditional
Okay,
Japanese
I wanted to
music that
know.
you think of.
I wanted to know if you played um, any of the arcade games in
I
this.
did. I played a little bit of Space Harrier and then realized that I fucking hate Space Harrier.
Did you play any of the QTE ones or anything?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh man, it's so good. There's like the ones with the 3 pads, and it's just like it's literally just a QTE game, but you get a high score for as long as you can keep it going, and it just
Ooh.
blinks like different inputs every time. But one of
Mm-hmm.
them, like I think it's either that or there's a jukebox in the arcade too, and
Mm-hmm.
if you play like in the jukebox or on the arcade games, you'll have versions of the Shenmue soundtrack like arcadey, like
Oh, okay.
it's like
That's awesome.
it's really
Nice.
cool,
Okay.
man. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you gotta spend some time in there. It's just a game that's near and dear to my heart. I know on some level that it has not aged well, and games have evolved beyond the formula that Shenmue provides. But
Mm-hmm.
I just go back to my first time playing it guide free 20
Mm-hmm.
years ago when it was ahead of its time. And it's just an amazing piece of history, I think, in video games. And hopefully, maybe 3 will have something to say about itself too. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope Shenmue 3 captures my interest when that comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
Shall we move on to our endorsements?
Sure.
Do I go first again?
Well, I think maybe you went first last time. I'll throw one
All
out
right. Well,
there.
you go first. Yeah.
So I'm having a problem lately where
Okay.
I don't. I'm having a hard time remembering
Viagra.
what things
Oh no. Okay.
I endorsed or not. Um, so I now have a list of endorsements I know for sure I've talked about, and a list of things that I think I haven't talked about. So you just tell me if you remember me talking about this or not.
All right. I'll stop you.
Okay. Today I'm going to endorse table tennis.
Oh shit! Nice.
Nice, because I've been playing a lot of table tennis. I first started playing table tennis, otherwise known as ping pong, in college with none other than Mr. James Wolfe here and a couple other friends. And I sucked. I was terrible. I was not good at this game. But with time and playing, working somewhere where they ended up bringing table tennis tables to the workplace, I was able to practice more at lunch and stuff. I got a lot better. And now here in Winston-Salem, they have a table tennis club, which I, of course, am nerdy enough to join. And
Nice.
it's every like Wednesday night I go over there. They have like a bunch of tables and a bunch of old dudes who are way better than me, but I go with a couple of friends from work. And people look at ping pong and they're like, man, that's a child's game. But no, there's strategy. There's top spins and slices and dices.
Hell yeah.
And there's
Hell
also
yeah.
and it can be a little bit of a workout, mostly picking up the balls after they fall off.
Yep.
And you're just bending over all the time picking up balls. If you have not given ping pong or table tennis a serious try in your adult life, I think you should reconsider and go to your nearest, kids club probably and go play some ping pong.
Ping pong is a fantastic game. I second your endorsement.
Thank you.
I am gonna recommend something you would really like, Leo. It is a video game. It is a video game called 7 Billion Humans.
I've seen this.
Have you?
I've seen you play it at least and looked up what the hell it was.
This is a video game about computer programming.
Okay.
Now, some of you might have just gone, not for me. I don't know how to code computers. That's fine. 7 Billion Humans is the way the language works is it's all pseudocode. So you don't really have to know a specific language to play the game. The game will teach you all of the verbs and all of the concepts that you need in order to be able to solve all of these programming challenges, all of these programming puzzles. And they're all kind of logic puzzles where you have to write some pseudocode to control a team of workers to do a task. So like some of the early levels are you have to write some code for the workers to find a box, pick up the box, and put it in a hole. So it's something that can teach you how to teach you some of the concepts behind programming. But also, once you get to the later levels, it is a game that can absolutely challenge some of the most veteran computer programmers, because I've been doing my day job, which is computer programming, for 8 years, and I had 4 years of school before that. So I'm pretty well versed in this. Some of the later levels were kicking my ass.
Really?
It is hard stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you are a programmer and want to challenge, start playing this game, get to those later levels, and it'll start kicking your ass. If you are someone who is interested in learning some of the concepts and some of the ways of thinking and some of the ways you have to think about problem solving when you write computer programs, pick up 7 Billion Humans. It is by the Tomorrow Corporation, which, if you recognize that developer's name, they also did World of Goo. They did Little Inferno. They also have another game that is very similar to 7 Billion Humans called Human Resource Machine, which is also it's also about computer programming. But 7 Billion Humans just came out. It's very good, and I recommend it. You should play it.
I'm gonna check it out for sure. Now, do you think it's good enough to, like, as far as like teaching, that to be used in like a classroom setting and teach people?
I think some of the early levels, absolutely, because some of the early level, the way they've written the pseudocode is so simple and elegant that, like, you don't have to know the language. You don't have to know. Right.
It's more about the logic.
It's all the concepts.
Yeah.
You learn how if statements work. Like, if this statement is true, you're going to execute this code. Yeah. If the statement is not true, you're going to execute this code. Hey, this code is going to execute no matter what. Then it starts introducing, concepts one at a time. Then you got your loops. Then you got your memory registers. Then you got your for eaches.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. 7 Billion Humans.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'm taking note because, sometimes I do some tutoring or some teaching for classes and stuff, so that might be something good to keep in mind.
Yeah, 7 Billion Humans. It's good.
All right.
Is that going to do it?
I think that's it for me, man. I'm going to go get some breakfast for dinner, and also endorse that, eating breakfast at night.
Yeah, fuck
so
yeah.
Good.
I love breakfast for dinner.
Yeah.
Next week, Spider-Man?
Oh, yes. Please, yes.
Mm-hmm. Are you done with it? Are you finished with Spider-Man?
Oh, yeah. No, I finished it like the weekend I got it.
Next week is Spider-Man PS4. I look forward to it. Right. We will see you, or not next week, but next episode is Spider-Man PS4. We will see you then. For the Good Games Podcast, I am James.
And I'm Leo.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Woo! We don't even need the music track anymore. Sega has no idea what they're doing.
Or maybe he's actually like a really super serious, like, Japanese anime, like, but then he's just like really fast.
That is an interesting take on Sonic. Maybe they should try that one.
And it's like, what? His voice doesn't fit him at all.